All I'm going to say is, if you don't think Hamilton is the 5-star masterpiece that it clearly is, you should probably click away from this video. So, welcome back to the channel, and today I've kind of got a different style of video, because after letting Hamilton on Disney Plus settle for about a month, I've kind of been thinking, who genuinely doesn't like Hamilton? And it was tough. I went through the delves of the internet trying to find bad Hamilton reviews, but then I just thought, let's go on to the most widely recognised critics site, Rotten Tomatoes. Now, Hamilton on Disney Plus holds a 98%, which, yeah, that means 98% of people liked it. But then I wanted to have a look at the 2%, the people that somehow didn't like this, which led me to these 3 reviews. So, here we have Jordan Ruimi, who writes, "If anything, the true magic act Miranda pulled off with his uber-popular creation is in how he managed to trick an entire country into thinking that Hamilton, a self-absorbed, dramatically inept play, is more important than it actually is." First of all, Jordan, you haven't actually pointed out much wrong with it, but the main thing you seem to have a problem with is its popularity. Yes, Hamilton is popular, but that seems to be what you base your reviews on, and that it's popular and therefore it isn't very good. I also love the part where he says, a dramatically inept play. I mean, first of all, it's a musical, but dramatically inept? Have you heard, wait for it, One Last Time, Burn, It's Quiet Uptown? Did you actually watch this? Yeah, next review. Almond White writes, Miranda's unprepossessing lead performance depends on whiny hectoring rather than brainy charisma. The role needs a star, and this film doesn't have one. So again, we have a short-sighted reviewer who's gone, Lin Manuel Miranda bad, Hamilton bad. And the role needs a star? Spoiler alert, no it doesn't. In my opinion, Lin Manuel Miranda isn't as good as some of the other cast, but he is still very, very good in his role. I actually think Lin Manuel Miranda does have a lot of charisma. That's one of the things he really does bring to the role. So yeah, this review also doesn't make sense. The third reviewer is a name I cannot pronounce, but let's hear what they have to say. Instead of reckoning with the past and present, we get a colourblind presentation of history which erases the radicalised dynamics on which America is built. Somebody doesn't understand the point of Hamilton. Hamilton is literally America then, told by America now. That's the point of it. Yes, in some ways it is colourblind, but that's the point, and that's a good thing. Also, the musical does acknowledge that these things were going on. I mean, literally, the first cabinet battle is, we know who's really doing the planting. That whole cabinet battle is pretty much built on the slavery debate. It's not also always trying to be a complete history lesson. It's a musical. If you want a history lesson, go watch a documentary. So yeah, those reviews were pretty poor. But then I came across something marvellous. Audience reviews. You see, on Rotten Tomatoes, on the left, it has critic scores, and on the right, it has audience scores. And, ladies and gentlemen, those audience scores are an absolute treat. Stephen H. writes, This sucked. Couple good songs, but overall, nothing more than a good community theatre performance. The rapping was terrible and sounded like people trying to rap who have no idea how to rap. Miranda is particularly horrible at rapping and singing. Killed his character by putting himself in the lead when he's so far below the talent of the rest of the performers. Stick to writing, dude. Now, we've already kind of addressed Lin Manuel Miranda's performance, which I still think is a fantastic performance. But then this whole idea of no one knows how to rap, I mean, have you not heard David Diggs? Unsatisfied is literally incredible. This show was built on rap, and the cast can rap. Mark C. writes, vastly overrated. It's a dishonest and revolutionist view of Hamilton the man. It's a musical, for crying out loud. Yeah, back then, most of these guys were probably not very nice people, but I don't think anyone really wants to see the, oh, I'm Hamilton and I'm a horrible person. Oh, I'm Burr and I'm a horrible person. Does anyone actually want to see that musical? That is the beauty of Hamilton, that it matches historical information with brilliant characters with musical theatre. That's the point of it. If you want a historically accurate telling of Hamilton, go watch a documentary, go read a biography. Don't watch the musical. And yes, in a way, it's a valid point. No, Hamilton the musical isn't historically accurate. But does that mean it deserves a 1-star review? I mean, everything else was great, but I mean, wasn't particularly historically accurate. 1 star. Jacob R. writes, overrated, overhyped, and not a movie. Should be called Hamilton on Stage. Again, your thought process was, it's on stage, it's not a professionally made film. 1 star. I'm genuinely not even sure if Hamilton would work as a proper theatrical film with a massive budget. But I don't think anyone's actually advertising it as Hamilton, the fully filmed movie. Yes, it was called the Hamilton film, but it was always advertised as Hamilton on Stage, the filmed production. And I think that's the beauty of it. It works as the filmed stage production. That's what the fans of Hamilton wanted to see, and you should have judged it on those merits. David K. writes, it's a good high school or college production, but it's just bad. Now, as an aspiring actor, I've seen quite a few high school and college productions, and trust me, Hamilton blows them all out the water. Not because all of those productions are necessarily bad, it's just, if you compare the budgets and the talents, you are comparing a Broadway show to some teacher and her smelly little brats trying to put on a show. Like, imagine being like David Diggs and Christopher Jackson and being compared to a school production. Like, they would just quit acting if they saw this. They just would. Maria writes, musical theatre is alive! That was genuinely a 5-star review. I thought it was funny that a filmed production released during a pandemic where barely any theatres are open and no theatres or productions are making any money, and musical theatre's pretty much dead in this pandemic world. And yeah, I just thought it was ironic that it was called Alive. Now, this person has no name, but he wrote, this was so terrible, it definitely sucked. Now, I really love the way that this artistic reviewer really puts his points across really thoroughly. A man called Jeff M. writes, despite a lot of talent on the stage, the relentlessly terrible music is too much to bear. Hard to feel like this isn't a bad high school project called Rapping About the Founders. I don't need to say it again. You clearly haven't seen enough high school or college productions to actually compare them if you are making that point. Moving on. Rob Z writes, while it kept me mostly entertained, the 2 words I think best describe the show are overhyped and overrated. While it has its moments, King George steals the entire show in its 3 brief scenes. For the most part, rapping founding fathers are as silly in execution as they are sound in concept. The show is permeated by a schoolhouse rock vibe that it rarely manages to shake. First of all, I know there are King George fans, but does he actually steal the entire show? For me, King George has always been a fun break from the action in America with 3 quite funny songs, but I never would say he steals the show. However, I wouldn't call Rapping Founding Fathers silly. Because yes, in theory, it's silly, but that's the point of the musical. It takes that premise, which might seem a bit silly, and it brings it and makes it seem exciting. That was Lin Manuel Miranda's whole point, that he decided that he wanted it in this style because he felt that their journeys felt like the journeys of hip-hop artists, and he felt like their songs represented those types of journeys, and the way the music is brought together and the way it works makes it not silly, because it's good music and it's really entertaining to watch. Riley S. writes, Lin Manuel Miranda can't sing. I'm not going to bother. Just go to the next one. Mr. No Name writes, couldn't get into the musical style, seemed like one really long song. That's the point. That's the point. That's the point. That is the style of the musical. It is that it doesn't have spoken word. It's sang or rap throughout the whole thing. That is just the style of some musicals. That's the style of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. This is a style that Andrew Lloyd Webber has used before. So if it's alright for him, why isn't it alright for Hamilton the musical? It's a normal and natural style. That's the style of it. I can't fathom any other words to use. Great. But Odom has a weak performance. Now occasionally I understand the Lin Manuel Miranda comments, just because sometimes I don't think his performance is as good as some of the others. But Leslie Odom Jr., has this man even seen it? I can literally just imagine him just, turning it on. He's absolutely loving it. He's just thinking, oh wow, this is great. This is great stuff. And he just, then wait for it happens. And he's just, I was really liking this before, but now this wait for it song's happened, and I'm just, yeah, I'm not into it anymore. Danielle T writes, boring film and unrealistic. It's a filmed production. How much realism do you want? Some of these criticisms are just genuinely ridiculous. It's unreal. I don't even know what they mean, unrealistic. I'm so confused. And there are a few more bad reviews. I just didn't have the mental willpower to sit through them all, I have to admit. So overall, I think today we've proved that Hamilton is a brilliant, brilliant stage production and has a brilliant filmed version, and that any criticisms are completely wrong and I am completely justified in my fanboy-like opinion. I've got some musical theatre videos in a playlist that's going to be there. You loved this video, so you're going to click like, you're going to subscribe, and you're going to comment, wow, I loved this video, subscribed. Really, you are a good YouTuber. I'll make more Hamilton content if this gets views, and I'll see you soon.
This is Willany, and if you're not already subscribed to the Nerdy Brit, right, you should be. Right? If you're not, you're a loser too.
Lin Manuel Miranda. Miranda? Oh, Miranda.